Christie says I'm dead to him. The governor of New Jersey was a rising political star, known for telling it like it is, winning policy victories as a Republican governor against the Democratic legislature. He was known for getting into amusing public arguments with his own constituents. That's about the time I was assigned to start writing about him by my editors at the Philadelphia Inquirer in 2011. I went on to cover him for WNYC Public Radio, traveling the country, putting a microphone in front of his face, documenting how he went from relative anonymity to the frontrunner for the Republican nomination for president. But inevitably enough, Christie's fortunes turned south. His administration became plagued by scandal, and he was eliminated early in the Republican primaries for president. That's when Christie sent me a message through an intermediary that I was, quote, dead to him. When I saw him a short while later in a hallway at the Republican National Convention, I asked him a question about why he had been chosen not to be the vice presidential nominee. He looked through me like I didn't exist. What happened? What did I do? To be honest, I'm not totally sure. Like I said, he won't talk to me. But I think it's really what we did, what we, traditional journalists, doing old school reporting, we ended up piercing this narrative that Christie had been selling for so many years. His resulting fall was painful, and he blamed us for it. Political narratives are this thing that politicians have been doing since the beginning of the democratic experiment. They're stories about a politician's childhood of, say, humble beginnings with hardworking parents who knew the value of a buck. These stories give larger meaning to a politician's life. They smooth out the rougher edges of a politician's personality. They make them appear of the people and yet just a little bit better than the people. Sometimes narratives are even true, and they can be used to inspire voters and push sound public policy. They have an important role in our system. In the beginning, political narratives were sold in song. They had jingles written about them, and they were published in songbooks that spread through the country. Later, candidate jingles were recorded for radio. TV brought 30-second commercials and sound bites on the nightly news. Now, political narratives are hawked on social media, on Twitter and Facebook and all the rest. Politicians now market themselves with immediacy and intimacy. The possibilities for using this communication tool to manipulate the public, though, it's greater than ever. Christie's social medium of choice was YouTube, that online community where you could share videos and talk about them and send them to your friends. Shortly after Christie became governor, he set up this YouTube channel and went about creating content for it. To do that, he staged town hall meetings around the state and brought with him a taxpayer-funded social media team. Videographers filmed the governor and then used government laptops to cut video clips and post them online before I could even get back to my newsroom to write an article about what he had just said at the town hall meeting. These clips were captivating. Christie is a brilliant storyteller. He's got a quick wit and a bit of a temper. There were caustic interactions with teachers. There were brutal takedowns of opposition politicians. But there were also touching moments with children who asked him sweet questions and weeping mothers who talked about their children's drug overdoses. Crowds adored him. Once, at a town hall meeting, he called a Navy SEAL an idiot who interrupted him, and hundreds applauded. At another town hall meeting, a woman stood up and prefaced a question about affordable housing by saying he was hot and sexy. The videos of these town hall meetings told the story of a tough, fair former federal prosecutor, an honest, regular guy who wanted to rid New Jersey of corruption and fix the state's broken political system. The videos showed him telling truths that were so true, he was the only one who could tell it like it is. Like this one.
You think I want to come in this room and give anything but good news? I'm in politics. I'd love to give nothing but good news. But I can't. I simply can't.
Even when he got into confrontations with constituents, he won the crowds over.
You know, every time I tried to answer, he started yelling over me again. And everything. I was like, oh, damn, man, I'm governor. Could you just shut up for a second?
Some videos brought tears to people's eyes, like when he told stories about his mother's death.
She taught me, be yourself today, and then tomorrow you won't have to worry about whether you got it right or wrong and who you told what version of the truth to. You just have to be yourself every day. That's what I'm going to be as governor for every minute you give me the honor of being it.
Christie convinced New Jersey that he had the best job in the world. He didn't even think about running for president. But behind the scenes, Christie's team was sending the videos of him saying that to cable news producers and talk show hosts on radio from around the country. Christie essentially created his own news station through these YouTube videos, all government funded, all with an eye toward building a national campaign for president. TV and radio reporters went on YouTube and started replaying Christie's videos on their airwaves. Newspapers wrote countless articles about the videos. The resulting buzz yielded Christie national TV and magazine profiles. He became known in the broader culture beyond politics, appearing on Jimmy Fallon and Saturday Night Live. And that, in turn, won him New Jersey popularity. Polls showed New Jerseyans felt better about their state than they had in years, in large part because of him. He won re-election with historic margins, and he was finally poised to finally run for president. Journalists were often enamored with Christie from afar, when most of what they knew about him came from these videos. He didn't look or sound like a politician. Journalists bought into the narrative of the tough guy governor and corruption-busting hero. The New York Times magazine put him on the cover, and their headline was "The Disruptor." Time magazine put him on the cover twice. The first headline was "The Boss." The second one was "The Elephant in the Room." Journalists have always aided and abetted these political narratives. But eventually, Christie watched that adoring press coverage change. Soon enough, dogged press from press row in the state's capital in Trenton, and eventually national political reporters from Washington, D.C. and New York and around the country, they revealed some hard truths about Christie's governorship. The state's slow economic recovery, layoffs of teachers and police officers, costly backroom deals with political bosses, misdirected funds for the recovery from Superstorm Sandy. Uncovering this information was often difficult. We had to go to court to demand his office turn over public documents. And we had to ask questions of everyone, all the time. As anyone in government or politics will tell you, reporters can be really, really, really annoying. We pose what are sometimes uncomfortable questions to powerful people, like I did in December 2013, when at a jam-packed press conference in the State House, I asked Christie about mysterious lane closures at the George Washington Bridge. These weird lane closures had caused days of traffic jams that threatened public safety. I asked Christie if he had closed the lanes to punish a local mayor and cause traffic jams in his town because that mayor had not endorsed him for re-election. This is what he said.
I worked the cones, actually, Matt. Unbeknownst to everybody, I was actually the guy out there. I was in overalls and a hat, so I wasn't, but I actually was the guy working the cones out there. You really are not serious with that question.
You can hear me a little bit. You can hear me trying in vain to follow up with him. The story that Christie is laughing off, sarcastically, became known as Bridgegate. It led to federal criminal charges against 3 of his former appointees. But it all started with journalism, when a traffic reporter at the Bergen Record did the very first article about these mysterious traffic jams. The Wall Street Journal kept the story alive, relying on inside sources to call into question Christie's role in the scheme. By the time I asked the governor what had happened, investigations were getting underway. Government documents then released because of the Bridgegate investigations, they helped me learn more about Christie's YouTube operation. The content for his most popular videos came from those town hall meetings that I was talking about. Well, I learned that the governor had hired a taxpayer-funded lighting expert with a stage management degree to make him look his best at those town hall meetings. A theater in the round setting made Christie look powerful and in charge for the resulting YouTube videos. Multiple cameras caught different angles. Behind the scenes at those town hall meetings, Christie's political team was working local officials, exchanging government favors for political endorsements. Our reporting at WNYC showed that Christie enforced loyalty among New Jersey politicians with an elaborate system of reward and punishment. It also showed that he was positioning himself for a presidential run during almost the entire time he was governor. None of that was apparent on his YouTube channel. Bridgegate finally showed up on his YouTube channel when he posted a video of his nearly 2-hour press conference denying any role in the scandal when it finally blew up. Soon after that, social media, the very machine that had built Christie into what he was, they tore him down. He was mocked in online memes, and his approval rating tanked. He came in 6th for the Republican presidential nomination in the New Hampshire primary. There's another New Jersey politician who used his social media prowess to create a narrative that no mere mortal could maintain. Cory Booker was the mayor of Newark when he started directly interacting with constituents via Twitter. He offered inspirational aphorisms, corny jokes, and constituent services, like immediate constituent services. Cory Booker rescued a dog named Cha-Cha who was stuck outside in the freezing cold after he was alerted to the situation via Twitter. And he once brought Pampers to a mother of 5 during a blizzard after her brother tweeted at Booker that she couldn't get out of her house because the street wasn't plowed. Years later, though, that mother explained that the only reason Booker even brought her the diapers was because he couldn't otherwise manage the city and plow her street so she can go out and get her own Pampers. She said essentially that Twitter Booker was great, but Mayor Booker didn't always live up to that image. Such complaints mattered little for Booker's ultimate political success. His Twitter heroics led to untold numbers of national media stories about him, which in turn built his New Jersey popularity. He easily won election to the U.S. Senate. Most recently, Donald Trump used his tweets to turn himself into a politician. His pithy, incendiary missives about politics were covered by traditional news outlets, particularly television. Trump's tweets provided discussion points from Fox News to The View. By the time Donald Trump ran for the 2016 Republican presidential nomination, he didn't really have to spend any money on advertising or spokespeople. He had just one spokesperson. Instead, he just kept tweeting. His tweets got covered and quoted, allowing him to essentially pick many of the topics that the Republican presidential primary was about. Everyone was talking about what he wanted them to be talking about. So he rarely needed to do press conferences to address controversies that he didn't want to address. On the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton also didn't see a reason to do press conferences. One reason? 100 people on her campaign were hired just to do social media, to craft the perfect tweet, and yes, to create the perfect videos. By feeding the media beast with her own content, she was often able to avoid traditional journalists. But we need to remember that these political narratives created on social media give us just a sliver of the truth. Like that woman we haven't seen in many years, a friend of ours from 20 years ago who posts updates on Facebook and seems so happy, but is she? Or a tweet from a helpful politician just looking to buy you some diapers. Or a compelling video from a regular guy governor who's secretly running a presidential campaign. Politicians will be politicians. They will be as disingenuous and deceitful as they've always been, even if the internet makes them seem better, genuine, and real. This is where the press, the media, the fourth estate comes in. We have a new responsibility in this age. We need to resist the temptation to simply replay the tweets, air the video from the campaign without fact-checking, contextualizing, questioning. We can't allow politicians to push their narratives unchecked, especially now that it's so much easier for them to do so. We need to be wary of false political narratives that stifle productive civic conversation. Because we can't learn what's going on in Capitol Hill in Washington or the State House in Trenton or even our local police departments simply by reading Facebook updates from professional communications staffers. As journalists, we get our information as often as possible directly from the source. We knock on doors, literally, and we file lawsuits to get public documents. We ask questions over and over and over again. But doing journalism requires the public's backing. The public must support our efforts to do the work of moving past these narratives, of trying to find out what politicians are really doing and plotting. That means relying on trusted news sources beyond some of the factually deficient elements on television. That means refusing to patronize sites online that have a nakedly partisan agenda. That means shaming media conglomerates that starve newsrooms with layoffs in exchange for obscene corporate profits. So help us hold politicians responsible for how they manage the government and our money. Read and listen and watch and pay for serious journalism. Because political deceit is in your social media feed right now. Thank you.